Welcome in, everybody. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is All in the Charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Drop me a comment. You got to click the bell icon for all notifications to know when I go live each and every single weekday on the YouTubes. I hope everybody is having a great day wherever you are located at. I am live streaming in the middle of the day, which I don't think that I have done. I'm trying to think if I have done this before. If I have, it's been a long time. Typically, I live stream towards the early evening hours of Eastern Standard Time, and I've done a few early morning live streams, but we are live streaming at just after 12 noon Eastern Standard Time here. Really good agenda for today that I had tweeted out earlier. Let's see who we have in the live stream. Kathleen, welcome in. Always good to see the enforcer on the live stream. Always good to see you. M786. I love saying your whole name. M786WP. Good to have you in here. LFG. Juan, welcome in. Very happy to see you. John, you're also here as well, which is great to see. Caspa is looking pretty sexy at the moment. Now, I did tweet out an agenda for today, so did want to take a quick look at that. Yeah, so right here, all in the charts agenda for today. John, welcome in. What's up? So let's start off with the at the top of the list here in terms of special guest announcements. So I just had the pleasure of connecting with Tony the Bull BTC live on a call, and he has Frankie. By the way, real quick, Frankie, I think for the first time I saw your profile photo on X here, man. The photo fits the name Frankie. Like you are, you know how like sometimes you hear a name or you talk to a voice and you imagine what somebody looks like. Dude, you look like. You look exactly as your name says. So Frankie, I actually need to give you a follow. A lot of you guys that interact with me, very routinely. I like to give you a follow on here because I just appreciate you. But anyway, let me get back to the special announcement. Track, welcome in, my friend. The special announcement is Tony the BTC Bull will be coming back on the live stream. Now, for those of you who have been here for a little bit, it was funny when I was talking with him live, I had mentioned to him that the last time he was on the live stream was actually back in late July. He was here in July 26th. So we put together a really good agenda. And right now we have slated Thursday, February 21st, or is that the 22nd? Let me check real quick. I think that's the 22nd. Yeah. Thursday, February 22nd, for the live stream. He will be coming on. We're going to work out the time. So as we get closer to that date, I will certainly remind you. I will also, starting on Monday, be back in my normal regular office, which will be nice. I'll have two screens. It's kind of rough live streaming from this laptop, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, he's going to be coming on Thursday, so I'm really excited to have him on the live stream. And then in terms of today, you can kind of see what we're going to run through. I'm going to run through the current price action on Bitcoin with my thoughts. We're going to take a look at what we should be examining going into the weekend. There's a couple views I wanted to look at with the Bollinger Bands, both on the weekly and 2-week, and a few observations that I made on Bitcoin looking at that. My thoughts on Ethereum and altcoins. And then also, I think it's important that we have a really good, firm understanding in terms of how the stock market is performing and the DXY or Dixie. So we'll take a look at that as well. Packed agenda, trying to squeeze this in 30-35 minutes. So let's get into it. As you can see on the 12-hour time frame, a couple observations to make here. You have the 20 above the 50 above the 200, which is exactly what you want to see from a moving average perspective. But do you guys notice anything else? I do. We're stair-stepping our way up. And at the moment, what this 12-hour is making me feel like we're doing, based on the data, it's not an emotional opinion, this looks like we're flagging right now. There is a potential flagging action going on in the 12-hour. The other observation I have here Not saying this upsloping line will continue to hold, but if you look at the stochastic RSI, you can see right now on the 12-hour, we're bouncing off here. We're right at the touch point. So I'm wondering if this is going to flatten out and begin to curl back up, and we're going to see a break to the upside. RSI and MACD look good. So the lower time frame here on the 12-hour, I'm seeing extremely healthy price action, okay? And as long as we continue consolidating in this fashion, I could see us breaking to the upside. You know, one of the things I had commented on, 3-day looks good. One of the things I had commented on was that if we got a break of $52,000 with some volume here, I thought, or at least shared my thought with you, that I think we could see $60,000 pretty quickly. So one of the things I want to look for going into this weekend, guys, can we close Sunday 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? Can we get a candle body close at or above $52,000? Now you have to understand on those higher time frames, when you start to get confirmation of candle body closes above significant levels of price confluence, which $52,000 is. If you see us close out Sunday at or above $52,000, that to me is saying there is a increased probability and a really good likelihood that we could see follow through next week, potentially pushing up towards $60,000. With all the strength that has come into the market, and it has seemingly taken everyone by surprise, okay? Not here. I mean, if you've been subscribed to this channel, this should not be taking you by surprise, because price action is literally doing exactly what I've sketched out here. But one of the things that I've begun to theorize is, could we see that significant push to $60,000 in the month of February, right? Could we see a push? Let's say it happened next week. We get a push to $60,000. We get a rejection. We come back down into this 48 to 52 range, and maybe we close out February right at $52,000. Now, the reason I like that scenario, is because first off, it would catch a lot of people off guard. There'd be a lot of liquidations and people in short positions. So you would get that push up to $60,000 which would cause that. But the other thing, if we saw a harsh retracement, all the bears would come out and be expecting these monumental corrections down below 48,000 towards still waiting for 32 to 35, right? Everybody, there are still people waiting for 32, 35 and well below, right? But not seeing that. So you'd see a little bit of a healthy flush out, in my opinion, some sort of a 20% correction, maybe down from 60 to 48, but yet we still closed the February candle extremely bullish, closing around $52,000. It's something that I'm at least starting to think about. Is that possible that we could see that happening? So something that I'm, from a forward-looking basis in the short term, kind of wondering if we're going to see. But the first step towards creating that potential scenario would be to see the week close at $52,000 or above. Right now, guys, we're consolidating extremely healthy. I mean, there isn't anything here that I see that is really concerning to me or or is leading me to conclude that price could potentially dump. Okay, so you know, I know there are people out there that open short positions right at that $50,000 to $52,000 range. That could turn out to be an extremely painful mistake that those individuals made. All right, let's get into some thoughts on these Bollinger Bands. So the thing I was looking at in particular, I was looking at the 2-week and I was looking at the weekly chart. And the question I was asking myself was, as we've started to get candle bodies going outside of the Bollinger Band. So the way to properly interpret this is, let me make this a little bit more pronounced so you can see this. Essentially what's happening is you can put a Bollinger Band on, and I don't want to steal Tony's thunder here because I know he's going to go into greater extent on some of this stuff, but essentially with the Bollinger Band, what you have is a 20 simple moving average, and then you have these two blue lines, and all the blue lines represent is a standard deviation. And if you're not into statistics and have absolutely no idea what I just mentioned, a standard deviation, think of it as some sort of a range of fluctuation that exists above and below the 20 simple moving average. So to the degree that price starts to go above these standard deviations or the outside of the Bollinger Band, it's expressing a lot of bullish price action. And the question you have to ask yourself is, how long can price action sustain itself in that matter? And also, what can history tell us when price starts to do this and we're dipping outside the Bollinger Band? What could we potentially expect in price? And so if we go left, because the way that we can assess this is going back to the left here in price history, we can see the last time this happened when price went outside the Bollinger Band. A couple points of observation here. I know this is a little distracting with these lines. Let me take these off. I just want you to focus on the Bollinger Bands. Okay, this is a little cleaner. First point of observation, as we started to rise up here, you could see that we followed this black moving average here on the 2-week. Now, this black moving average is the 9 EMA, the 9 exponential moving average, which is a very common exponential moving average that traders will look at, chartists will look at. And the reason that I'm comparing it to this price action, that's the last time that we saw sustained candle bodies above the Bollinger Band. There's kind of two different time periods that people are pointing to also to look at current price action and say, where are we at in terms of the market? You know, what point in time can I compare the current price action to? We commonly, you'll see referrals to 2020 and 21. You'll also see some common mentions of 2016 and 17. Now, in the case in 16 and 17, when we started to push above the Bollinger Band here, notice how price action gravitated towards this black moving average. It's the 9 EMA. We even touched the 20. The 9 EMA, though, on the 2-week chart. So you can see all the way up to our blow-off top in 16 and 17. While we got some wicks below the 9 EMA, we never really saw any candle body closes below it, right? So it should tell you if something similar plays out going into our blow-off top, if we were to compare it to those 2 points in time, we can use this 9 exponential moving average as a point of reasonability for pullbacks. Now, this 9 exponential moving average is going to continue to change over time as candle bodies continue to print. So if we go back in time, at the beginning of the year, you can see, if you look, like I'm pointing to the screen like you can see, in the bottom left right here, you can see what the 9 EMA is. It looks like it's at 37,200, 38,100, 40,200, and now it's sitting at 42,500. Based on how price action comes in this week, next week, because it won't print until the 26th, so we still have another week worth of price action on the 2-week. This next black 9 EMA data point will most likely print somewhere based on the rate of appreciation here, just kind of eyeballing it. We don't need a scientific model to come up with it. You know, it'll print somewhere around $45,000. So as candle bodies continue closing in this fashion up here, this 9 EMA is going to continue pushing up. And what I'm saying is, when we've seen this sort of price action, until our blow-off top occurs, the most pullback that we've historically seen is down to the 9 EMA, and it just bounces right off of it. Now, how about if you wanted to look at things on a weekly basis? On a weekly basis, once again, you can see we really started pushing above the outside of the Bollinger Band here, this standard deviation, right up in here in November, right? And you can see we've ridden this 9 EMA. What have we done in the past? If we go back to 20 and 21 on the weekly, you could see once we went outside of the Bollinger Band, until we had our blow-off top, which technically our blow-off top was here. This was the impulsive top. This was part of a corrective structure. I've explained that ad nauseum. Again, on the weekly, back in 20 and 21, we never went below this 9 EMA. If we go back to 16 and 17 on the weekly, you can see we did go below the 9 EMA, but we never went below this median line, which is the 20 simple moving average. So punchline here. What's the punchline of what I'm saying? Depending upon what time frame you look at, whether you're looking at the weekly or you're looking at the 2-week chart, if price plays out in a similar manner as either 16 or 17 or 2020, you should not expect price to deviate beyond the 9 EMA or 20 SMA. Okay? That is the main takeaway, and I hope that made sense. Let's see who else we have in the live stream. I see Evan is in. Good to see you, Evan. 55,000 absolutely could be coming. Got to wait for this weekly close. We need to see how it closes, Frankie. All right. Now, did want to stay on track here. So next up, I believe, was Ethereum. Yes, did want to take a look at Ethereum and thoughts on the altcoin. So right now, the main thing you want to watch for Ethereum is, you can see we're on a 2-week right now. Let's actually flip to a weekly real quick. Real quick on Ethereum. This is very simple and straightforward, and it speaks to areas of price confluence we've hit on this live stream many times. You have very simplistically put 2,500 and 2,800. Now, the main thing, I would say the most bullish scenario for Ethereum is we get a weekly close at or above 2,800. Because if you see a weekly close on Ethereum at or above 2,800, we are now significantly increasing the probabilities. Because, again, that's a major area of price confluence, okay, 2,800. If we can get a weekly close at or above $2,800, then it looks like we could see a major push up towards around, I would say, anywhere between around 34 to upwards of 37 and maybe even over $4,000 in the coming weeks. Now, again, we don't need to close at or above 2,800. It's the most bullish scenario. If we can get a weekly close that closes anywhere near 2,800, price is still pressed up against that price action, and we're stair-stepping our way up. But that's really the main thing you want to look for, is a close above $2,800. And in terms of dominance and how this plays into altcoins, because there's kind of two main, if you're trying to keep it really simple for yourself and evaluate just like a couple charts to indicate to you how strong altcoins are, or I shouldn't say that. If you want to assess a few charts that should leave you feeling convicted, the strength of altcoins, but also when we could potentially really start seeing a run in some altcoins. Of course, there's the total 2 and total 3, which we're not going to look at today. But really, you want to look at Ethereum, number one, because if that king altcoin starts to run really hard, a lot of enthusiasm, exuberance, and a lot of confidence will come into your altcoins, but also the Bitcoin dominance chart. So on the Bitcoin's dominance chart, what I'm looking for now, looks like we're going to get a cross up on the MACD. RSI is kind of hanging out where I thought it would. I'm still expecting one last gasp. I'm waiting for that one last push up in dominance. So what would be going on in the market if we get one last push up in dominance that takes us up perhaps to where I've indicated to around 58%? What would be happening in the market? Well, Bitcoin's price performance would be outperforming the altcoins in general as a whole. Now, what sort of price scenario could we foresee that happening in? Well, I just spoke to Bitcoin closing this week. What we'd like to ideally see is a close at or above $52,000. If that happens, to me, that increases the probability that we could see $60,000 very soon. So what I would hypothesize that I think is quite possible, you could see Bitcoin close this week at or above 52. And if that were to occur, that Bitcoin runs up to $60,000, as high as $60,000 or close to it next week, maybe the week after, I could see Bitcoin running harder than your altcoins, getting rejected here, and then all of a sudden, as it starts to consolidate, you could see your alts running, right? You can see your alts running. Keep in mind, as the dominance continues to drift lower, as I've indicated is my expectation, this entire price action here with dominance moving lower is not necessarily indicative of Bitcoin USD going down in value. In fact, we looked at this here. During Bitcoin's blow-off top, when we hit its impulsive blow-off top towards 62 or 64, wherever that was at, this run here, Bitcoin was having a big surge in value from the 40s into the 60s, okay? Even maybe the 30s into the 60s. It's just that your altcoins, all that enthusiasm, all that money was also going into your altcoins, and it was a risk-on environment. So just keep that in mind, that the dominance can be decreasing, but it doesn't mean that the USD value of Bitcoin is decreasing. Now, the last main thing that I wanted to take a look at going into the weekend, if I don't live stream on Sunday, if there isn't anything significant, I would say to me significance, if on Sunday we see some significant price action come into the market, Ethereum is well over 2,800. Bitcoin's pushing well over 52,000. Count on me getting out on a live stream. I don't know what time it'll be, but count on it. Outside of that, though, I'll be back on Monday. So for the DXY, this is on the weekly. What do we have from daily price action? Yeah, we're getting some rejection in this 105 area, which isn't surprising because it's a major area of price confluence. Again, we're still in this channel. MACD has a slight cross up here. RSI is relatively neutral. Stochastic RSI looks good. Again, in general, there's a positive or inverse correlation, which exists between the DXY and risk-on assets, which would be your stock market and crypto assets. This is in a channel right now, and I think this channel is going to hold. We've come up to this area. I expect us to come down. The next major area of support I see for the DXY bouncing off of isn't until the $99 to $100 area. That would make a whole lot of sense for two reasons. One, it's a major area of three reasons. One, it's a major area of price confluence. Two, it's a psychological level. And three, we have the 200 simple moving average right around 99 to 100. So I see this rolling over in the weeks to come. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Let me quick get into the major indices here. Let's get into the S&P. Of course, one of the things that I've hit on in this channel, and I'll continue to take credit for, is if you've been here since I started this live stream. I started this live stream, actually. I'll have to have an anniversary edition of the live stream. I started this live stream back in March of 2023. And what date was it? March 28th. I'll have to think of doing something special on March 28th. But what date does that fall on? Actually, it's on a Thursday. I'll have to think. Maybe I'll have a special guest on or something. But anyway, one of the things I take a lot of pride in is even before that live stream, when I was still doing other live streams, I had other names for them. I was one of the few analysts coming out here, and I was just saying to someone that one of the hardest things to do when you're hearing all the news reports and you're hearing everyone around you seemingly calling for a disastrous 2023 in the stock market, you're calling for a melt up before melt down. I can't tell you how many times I sent text messages to people saying melt up before melt down. And that's exactly what we've been doing so far. So this move is not sustainable. At some point, we are going to roll over and have a hard correction, but that time is not now. The S&P just continues making higher highs. Look at this candlestick. This is an extremely bullish candlestick if we close in relative fashion like this. Because what you have, and I want to see the green body a little bit thicker. This could turn. We'll have to see how the S&P closes. I want to see the S&P close a little bit over 5,000. We're at 5,028. I want to close closer to 5,048. If we get a close closer to 5,048, what that's going to be is a hammer candle. That is a clear sign of continued upside. Typically at the bottom of a downtrend, it's a clear sign of a trend reversal to the upside. But if you get a hammer candlestick up here, that's just continuation to the upside. That's what it's signaling to you. So want to see this get a little bit more green, but nothing alarming going on here. We're just seeing a massive uptrend in the S&P as the doom and gloomers A broken clock is, as they say, a broken clock is correct twice a day. So at some point, the doom and gloomers will be correct, but not yet, in my opinion. Let's get to the weekly price action on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ looks like it's closing out the week a little red, but some nice seller exhaustion on the wick here. In terms of price indicators, nothing alarming there. We're riding right above the 10 simple moving average. How do we look on the 2-week? I mean, the health of the stock market looks great. Again, something that I've hit on the CBG podcast. I've hit on this many, many times, guys. The economy can be prepping for hell in a handbasket. You can have people feeling, 20% inflation in food prices. You can have personal credit card debt levels and buy now, pay later, BNPL debt showing troublesome signs for the economy, which by the way, as a little plug for the CBG podcast, that was a point of conversation on the last CBG podcast. You can have all these things that fundamentally are correct and could spell disaster at some point, but you can have the stock market diverge from that and perform quite different than the underlying fundamentals of the economy. So, yeah, the NASDAQ looks great. Even on the 2-week, it's looking great. Now, this is something that, again, we're going to revisit at some point. Probably revisit this in March because the next interest rate announcement will be in March. But again, based on when the Federal Reserve paused interest rates, this has signaled to us, based on recent history, they will signal a decrease in interest rates sometime between March and October of this year. Okay, anytime in between there. And again, from a historical perspective, we're going to, again, revisit the conversation. What does that actually mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that the stock market has topped, but history would certainly suggest to you that if it hasn't topped, that's your warning shot that has been fired, that at some point in the months to follow, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, we'll take a look at a historical perspective, the stock market is more than likely going to top. So it's quite possible. I don't think they're going to come out in March, by the way, and signal an interest rate decrease. I think by May it's very possible. So let's just say May, June in this time frame. You could have an interest rate decision here where we start to decrease interest rates. Again, I spoke to this on the CBG podcast. If they're decreasing interest rates, the question you have to ask yourself is why? Because something systemically, is falling apart. Bank collapses, things that the Federal Reserve is extremely concerned about. And if they don't help to prop up the economy, we could have a systemic collapse. So the interest rate decrease will be because of something potentially cataclysmic, something bad, let's just put it that way. If it occurs here, you could have the market maybe topping out in this area, right? You could have Bitcoin and your traditional markets topping out towards the end of the year. Again, which would not be in line with my primary hypothesis. My primary hypothesis, again, is that Bitcoin will top within the first half of this year, latest by July, right? Alternative hypothesis is, okay, maybe this thing, I'm looking at a lot of different views I've shared with you guys that suggests that it's quite possible we're not going to top until the end of this year, maybe even early 25, right? I do not think the market's going to top in late 25. I want to be very clear about that. I do not think that we're going to follow this perfect 4-year cycle and we're going to have Bitcoin topping in late 2025. I don't see that. But I am very open, much more open and receptive to late 24, early 25. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Last major indice I want to take a look at here is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which last I looked at was also doing quite well. Yep. So again, this is an extremely bullish candlestick on the weekly, looking sexy AF on the Dow Jones. Now, again, the name of this chart is negative divergences. If we go to this, we've spoken to this in the past. Is it alarming to me that as the Dow Jones has continued going up, the relative strength index has been decreasing in value? Of course it is. But that doesn't mean it needs to pan out this month or next month, right? We got to look for those warning signs. Whoa, knocking over my microphone. We got to look for those warning signs. But I don't see anything here yet that is of concern. Again, I want to emphasize to you guys, I understand the name of the channel. My persona is the crypto bull god. It doesn't mean that I'm always going to be a bull on crypto technologies. But in terms of being a bull or a bear on the charts, of course, there's a time to be bearish and a time when we're going to undergo a massive correction, and I'll be out here sharing with you as that time is approaching, if I think it's approaching. But we're not there yet. We're not. So sit tight. I mean, this is, as I've shared with you guys before, and I'll get to your comments in a moment before we sign out. As I've shared with you guys before, if you've been diligent, patient, and done the hard contrarian thing to invest at a time when most people were scared, this is the easiest part for you guys. You don't have to do anything. You just sit on your hands. Now, you shouldn't be sitting on your hands for the next 12 months. There will be points when you need to get off your hands and sell, but we're not there yet. The easiest thing to be doing right now, think about this, guys. Just level set the conversation for a moment before we sign off here. Think about this. If you were diligent, patient, educated, exercised logic, and you were buying here, 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 what are you worried about? Your average entry point is probably at or below $20,000, maybe even over $20,000. Maybe your average entry point is $22,000. Guys, you're up more than 2x on your investment in Bitcoin. We're sitting at $52,000. What are you sweating? You see these thumbnails, and you have to really take with a grain of salt, because a lot of the content out there are for shorter term price action. A lot of content out there is to grab your attention because there's nothing super interesting going on in the market, so they have to put out words that grab your attention. But if we have some sort of a devastating pullback by 15 or 20%, what does that actually mean? What if we did pull down to 48 or 46 or 44 or 42? So what? So what? Nothing structurally from a macro perspective has changed, guys. Just take a deep breath. These charts are looking great. Things are going to continue trending. All signs are pointing to things continuing to trend in a bullish direction. I feel very confident about that. That I feel very sure about. But you're going to get a lot of volatility. And the last point I would hit on, and I think Tony's going to hit on a lot of this when he comes on the live stream, but there are clear signs to indicate that as we move forward here, volatility is going to pick up. Okay, so in these coming 3 months, 6 months, maybe 12 months, there's going to be an increased level of volatility. You need to prepare yourself for that. Should you be buying? Should you be selling? Should you be sitting on your hands? Those are things that you need to be very prepared for and have your emotions controlled, because as I often say, emotion is a money killer. You have to have your emotions intact and have a game plan. Yeah, I saw XRP was moving today, Evan. I thought I saw it up like 5%. Wasn't it up like 5% or something like that? Okay. Well, maybe that was yesterday. It was up 5%. I thought at one point it was up 5%. Rob, very good to see you on the live stream. I haven't seen you on the live in a while. It's very nice to hear your voice, or not hear your voice, see your words. I'm doing pretty well, my friend. Rashid, I missed your comment there almost. Good afternoon, my friend. Very good to see you in the live stream. Yeah, you can't make your whole identity as a bear or bull. You lose credibility, because there's a time in every market to be bullish or bearish. I don't understand why people can't digest this and understand this. You can be bullish on technology, like I am with crypto. I am monumentally, fundamentally bullish on this space. Monumentally. It makes too much sense to me. It doesn't mean that I am that I'm a bull no matter what with the price action. No, the charts are going to tell me if I should be bullish or bearish. And right now, I just don't know why you would not be bullish. Yeah, Caspa's looking very good, my friend. I need to get an updated video out there. It's looking pretty damn good, up 3.5%. So I will disclose to you guys real quick before I sign off. I did take a very, 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 very small leveraged play on Caspa. So I told you guys I don't mess around with leverage. And if I do mess around with leverage, it's an extremely small amount. So I took out a 20x leverage play on Mexi with Caspa. I mean, so far it's doing quite well, but it's such a small amount of money, it's not even worth mentioning in relation to my portfolio. It's a very small. So my thought process is if I lose it, I could care less. If it happens to do quite well, then hey, bonus for me. But yeah, nothing. Nothing. Yeah, 20x. Nothing to get worried about though. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate everyone tuning in and making sure you have that bell icon clicked, guys. I didn't know what time I was going to live stream today. I was debating if I was going to live stream early this morning, but I felt like hell early this morning, which is why I didn't live stream. Was not a good morning for me. Was not very awake. So decided to do this thing midday when I had time. Next week I will be back in my normal office, and I will be back around the normal times. Make sure if you're not following Tony the Bull BTC, give him a follow on X. I'll remind you guys all next week that he's going to be back on the live stream. Again, he was on the live stream. If you want to check out the last live stream he was on, go back to my live streams and look for the live stream from July 26. And you'll see the thumbnail is different to represent him from X. So really great guy. Connected with him, and I'll have him back next Thursday. So until next time, everybody, have a great weekend. Get out there, enjoy yourself. Get out and enjoy the weather, depending where you're at, and take care of yourselves. And thanks for stopping by. Let's all spread awareness and carry the education forward. See you on Monday, or perhaps Sunday.